Welcome! Welcome to School Finance 101 and the budgeting process. I hope everything you learn about today increases your knowledge and skills in this area. So, let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we need to talk about is the Foundation School Program. The Foundation School Program is the state program that establishes how much funds each and every school in Texas receives. The two main components are operations funding and facilities funding. Let's take a closer look at the operations funding. The operations funding component includes 3 tiers. Tier 1, in the green, provides the basic level of funding and is made up of several allotments that we will look at. Tier 2, the yellow, is for enrichment or a supplement to the basic funding in Tier 1. And Tier 3, the smallest tier, guarantees that school districts will get a set amount of funds for every student in a weighted average daily attendance. So, let's look at some terms so you can understand Tier 1. The first term we're going to look at is the basic allotment. This is the amount given to each district based on the cost for a regular student. The next term is called the adjusted basic allotment. Adjustments are made depending on how much it costs to educate students in the region. If the district is small or mid-sized, suffers hardships, and the scarcity of the population. AA, or adjusted allotment, is the amount the state uses to calculate the district's revenue. ADA, the average daily attendance. This is the number of students each day for the entire school year, divided by the number of instructional school days. And I'll have an example for that as well. And last, we have the local fund assignment. This is the Tier 1 portion that the district is responsible for. So here's Tier 1, and of course it is the basic level of funding, and here are the several allotments that it does include. If you take a look, the red portion is all for the regular students. Then we have smaller portions for the gifted and talented, special education, career and technology, high school, and bilingual and ESL, and some other ones. One that you do not see on there, however, is the Texas Virtual School Network. This used to be included in this list, but now the districts receive Tier 1 fundings for students participating in this program the same way as they do for other students, based on daily attendance. Districts that provide these courses are compensated through contractual agreements now. Next, we're going to look at an example of how to calculate the basic allotment. The basic allotment is a district's amount is $4,765 multiplied by the quotient that results from dividing the district's compressed tax rate by the state minimum compressed tax rate, which is $1. So, if a district has a compressed tax rate of $1, has a basic allotment amount of $4,765. Okay, well let's look at how to calculate the average daily attendance. Here we look at the date and the daily attendance. You simply add them all up and then divide it by the instructional days. Of course, this is much smaller. And then you get the average daily attendance. So, together, the basic allotment and the average daily attendance are used to calculate the Tier 1 funds allocated to the districts. What about charter schools? Well, charter schools are entitled to Tier 1 funds, but because they do not have adjusted allotment, the amount allocated is quite calculated differently. Let's go ahead and move on to the Tier 2, the supplemental funding that helps our Tier 1. Tier 2 is the guaranteed level of funding that ensures that districts generate funds for each student in the weighted average daily attendance, or each cent of tax effort above the tax effort required to meet the local fund assignment, up to an amount set by statute. Terms you might need in order to understand Tier 2 include the compressed tax rate. This includes maintenance and operations tax rate multiplied by the state compression percentage. Next, we have golden pennies. The first 6 cents of tax effort a district assesses above its compressed tax rate, these pennies are called golden because they are the pennies of tax effort for which a district is able to generate the highest level of supplemental funding. And last, we have copper pennies. Any cents of a tax effort a district assesses above its compressed tax rate plus 6 cents. These pennies are called copper because they generate a much lower level of supplemental funding than the golden pennies do. Here are the Tier 2 allotments. Tier 2 provides 2 levels of guaranteed yield funding on the pennies of tax effort exceeding a district's local fund assignment. Level 1. A district may receive Level 1 funds if the amount set by the General Appropriations Act is less than property wealth per student or the amount per district tax revenue per weighted average daily attendance per cent of tax effort generated for this level of guaranteed yield funding for the last year. So what does this mean if you're Level 1? Well, a district may receive Level 1 funds for only 6 pennies of tax effort above its compressed tax rate. These pennies in Level 1 are called the golden pennies because they provide more funds for our Tier 2, which help Tier 1. Let's take a look at Level 2 now. Level 2 means any pennies of tax efforts above its compressed tax rate plus 6 more pennies can generate Level 2 fundings. The pennies generated in this level are called copper pennies because they do not provide as much funding as the golden pennies. A district may receive these kinds of funds if the amount has been fixed by a law. Here is the example of Tier 2 Level 1 that we just discussed. In the blue, you can see that this represents the local share, and in the green, the state share. Here is the guaranteed yield per wada per penny. And here is the line that it cannot pass. When it does pass, we have a recapture. So now we're going to look at what a recapture is. So, what is a recapture? A recapture is when a district's property wealth per student exceeds certain levels. These levels are known as the equalized wealth levels. When a district exceeds the equalized wealth levels, they are labeled as a Chapter 41 district, and then they are given 5 options available to reduce their property wealth. Let's look at those 5 options. Okay, so now we're looking at the options to reduce that the Chapter 41 districts have to choose. Option 1 is to consolidate with another district. Option 2, detach property. Option 3, purchase attendance credits from the state. Option 4, contract to educate non-resident students from a partner district. Or option 5, to consolidate tax bases with another district. Most Chapter 41 districts have chosen option 3 or option 4, or sometimes even a combination of these. But either way, both need to be approved in an election by local taxpayers. Option 3 requires a district to reduce its wealth by sending money to the state. After they send money to the state, this helps the funds generated help finance property-poor school districts. Option 4 requires a district to reduce its wealth by agreeing to send money directly to the property-poor districts. Now we're going to go back and we're going to look at the Foundation School Program, component number 2, facilities funding. The facilities funding has 2 programs. The first one is Instructional Facilities Allotment Program. In this program, it provides service payments for debts that are associated with qualifying purchases, construction, expansion, and renovation of school facilities. The second program is the Existing Debt Allotment Program. This program provides payments on eligible bonded debt. Some of these examples might be mortgages, agreements from the lease, certificates, and other things of that sort. The first program, the Instructional Facilities Allotment, like I said, provides the districts with reimbursements on payments for the purchases of construction, renovation, and expansions on the school facilities. This program is not automatically granted. If a district needs this kind of assistance, they must apply for it with the TEA, or the Texas Educators Association. The next program is the Existing Debt Allotment Program. And it is exactly what it says. It is for existing debt. This is for reimbursements on payments that are eligible bonded debt. And this program is automatically granted to all school districts as long as their payments meet the eligibility rates in the debt service schedule. TEA determines the funds each district is entitled to based on equalizing interest and sinking fund, tax collection, and bond data. So, what other state aid is available to school districts, you ask? Let's take a look at a few. The first one is the ASF, the Available School Fund Payments. This is based on the school district's prior year for eligible students enrolled. This payment is sometimes referred to as the per capita payment. Next, we have the staff allotment. This is additional state aid for staff salary increases. I know, you heard increases on salary. Well, they're only talking about $550 per full-time employee and $250 per part-time employee. But This does not include administrators or full-time classroom teachers, counselors, librarians, or nurses. Sorry. All right, let's talk about it. It's budget time. Here we have the school budgeting process. In the school budgeting process, there are three major phases. We have planning, preparation, and of course, evaluation. When we are planning our budget, there are 6 guidelines that we must follow. The first one is the budget must be prepared by a set date determined by the TEA. Next, it has to have public notification. This means that we need to let those taxpayers know that a budget is coming. It has to be in the newspaper 10 days prior to the meeting and posted on the internet website in the school district's administration office or in the district's central administration. The next one is no funds may be used for anything other than as provided in the adopted budget. Next, the budget must be prepared in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles and the state guidelines. And the budget must be legally adopted for the adoption of the tax rate. And last, the district shall maintain this budget on a website for at least 3 years. Now, let's look at a budget summary. What would a budget summary look like? Well, it must include a comparison to last year's budget, funds that are all allotted per student, and funds that go to instruction, the instructional support, the central administration, district operations, debt services, and any other category that is designated by the commissioner. Let's look at preparation, because preparation is the key. In addition to everything we've already talked about, additional requirements are as follows. The budget must be adopted by the Board of Trustees and include all of the amendments no later than August 31st. And this would change if it's a fiscal year and if July 1st is the fiscal year start date. The next requirement would be that the budgets for the general fund and the food service fund and the debt service fund must be included in this official district budget. Evaluations. As any good plan put together, periodic monitoring of the budget should be conducted. Each level of the district's organization is responsible for their part and their items. Next, minutes from all the district board meetings are going to be looked at by the TEA, the Texas Education Association. They will be looking at these to evaluate the adoption of and the amendments that are being made to the budget. And last, all evaluations need to be done on the high school allotments. These need constant tracking. School finances and budgeting can make or break a school district. It is very important that anyone interested in taking the leads in our schools today understand the responsibility and take the initiative to learn all that they can in this matter. I hope you have found this video informational as well as entertaining. Goodbye, and thanks for stopping by.